I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife Podcast, episode 242, If You're Struggling with Judgment. If your husband is struggling with a pornography problem and you want some help with it and you are not finding the resources that you like, you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach. I am an active member of the LDS faith, and I am the wife of a former porn addict. And on this podcast, I am going to share with you the tools that you need in order to start your healing journey. This is where I'm going to show you how to dive deep into intentional living, how to rekindle connection with your spouse, how to manage all that emotional turmoil that you're feeling, how to break the addiction cycle that you have to your husband's addiction, and tell you all of the ways to do that and start healing. I am so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Good morning, my ladies. How are you? I am doing great. And I apologize, my voice is very tired and a little sore, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay today. I wanted to talk today about if you're struggling judging your husband. And this is something that came up several times over the last week with my clients. And so I wanted to do a podcast episode in case any of you guys were struggling with the same thing. And here's what this looks like. If you want to be more compassionate toward your husband, but you're struggling with that, and it can be your husband or anyone else in your life, if you find yourself struggling with the fact that you have feelings of judgment toward that person, then this episode is for you. Okay, so if you want to be more compassionate, but you're judging him and his behavior, number one, I want to offer to you that it's completely okay. And what you need to do is acknowledge that you're judging him and stop resisting it. When you are trying to talk your way out of it, when you are judging yourself for judging your husband, we add a lot of resistance. When you are trying to push your way through it or trying to, again, the word that keeps coming to my mind is force. When you're trying to force yourself out of it, end up creating a pressure around it that isn't very helpful. All it does is it just adds another layer that we don't need. You don't have to stay in the judgment, right? So acknowledging the judgment, acknowledging that you're judging him is not a problem, okay? It doesn't mean you have to stay there, but it's not going to go away if you keep resisting it. Oh, I'm such a terrible person. I can't believe I'm doing this. He's trying so hard. Why can't I get past this, etc.? And judging yourself again for judging your spouse only adds another layer. If you go back to the beginning of the podcast, it's again, I think it's in the top 10 episodes. It's called Layering Emotions. This is what this is doing. It's where we have all of these layers of emotion. We have whatever emotion that we're feeling, and then we have judgment of him that he's doing it, and then we have judgment that we're of ourselves for judging him, and we don't need that layer. We don't need to judge ourselves for judging him. All we need to do is become aware of the emotion. And again, understand that judgment, I feel judgmental. Okay, it's just an emotion that we can just feel and we can process and we can let it go. And if it helps, something that I offered to my clients this week is it can also be fractional. Okay, now I am not a math person, but if it helps, you can fraction out parts of you. Here's what I mean, and I do this all the time with trust and things like that, is you can say part of me is judging him. Because maybe it's not your whole self. Maybe it's just a part of you. Maybe there's just a part of you that's judging him. Or maybe there's only a part of his behavior that you're judging. And that's important and can be helpful too, is fractioning it out and recognizing, okay, it's not me judging him for everything. I don't judge the way that he puts on his pants. I am judging him for this one thing specifically. Or part of me is judging him for this one thing specifically. And that can be super helpful. The other thing that I want to offer for you is that after you have acknowledged that, yes, I'm judging him, you let go of all the judgment that you have for yourself, you recognize that you don't have to stay here, and you fraction it, if that's helpful, I want to offer that you then have more compassion for yourself. Part of the reason why we struggle so much to have compassion for our spouse is because we're not having compassion for yourself for whatever it is that's coming up. And here's what that looks like. If you are judging him, having compassion for yourself looks like, of course I'm judging him. Of course I'm feeling judgmental. Of course I'm feeling these emotions. And giving yourself compassion to understand, of course I'm doing this. This makes complete sense that I am responding in this way. That's the natural part of your brain that keeps us alive, especially as Christians, or if you are religious, or even if you just have a high moral code, which you guys do because you're listening to this podcast. We hear a lot that we shouldn't judge, right? Especially, growing up in the church that I did, judgment is for God. We're not supposed to judge people. And that's accurate. Eternal judgment, that's totally God's, okay? However, judgment is actually required to keep us alive. Judgment is not wrong, okay? Judgment is the part that is able to say, is it safe to walk across the street right now? I need to judge whether or not it's safe for me to cross the street. I need to judge whether or not I trust this person in the child daycare at the gym to keep my child safe while I exercise. Okay, we have the ability to judge. Is it safe for me to walk into this building? Is it safe for me to walk down this dark alley alone? This is a part of our brain that's actually essential to keep us alive. So part of our brain is very accustomed to judgment, and we actually need that part. So judgment isn't wrong. And the part of you that is judging the behavior that he's doing, we're judging that that's not something you agree with, right? It's like, that's the judgment you're making, is I don't agree with this behavior that he's taking part in. That you actually want to keep that, because that's coming from your moral code. That's saying, I don't agree with this behavior. This goes against everything that I want, everything that I think is right and good, and I don't agree with it. And that's actually a part that you want to keep. You don't want to actually get rid of that part. You want to keep the part that says, I don't think he should do that, right? Because that's also the same part that enables you to recognize your own mistakes and judge your own actions. It's the part of you that says, I don't think I should do that. And getting rid of the part of you that says, I don't think he should do that, you would also have to get rid of the part of you that says, I don't think I should do that. It's the same part. The part that is able to look at a behavior and say whether or not that goes against your moral code. So we actually want to keep it. And unless you want to get rid of your moral code, which I don't think you do. Okay, so we actually want to keep a little bit of this judgment. We actually want to keep the part of us that says, I don't think he should do that. Now, what we don't want to do is say, I don't think he should do that, and then judge ourselves for having that judgment. Okay, what we want to do is be able to say, I don't think he should do that, and then feel and process whatever emotion comes up with that. Maybe it's disappointment, right? And this is what's happened, is our brain wants to resist. Our brain wants to judge ourselves for judging, because it's easier to feel judgmental of ourselves than it is to feel disappointment in our spouse. Okay? We want to process whatever emotion comes up. It could be disappointment. It could be that we then have to reconcile who we thought he was to who he is now, what we thought he was doing to what behavior he is doing. And that's much harder to do. So I want to offer again that we let go of all the judgment of ourselves, recognize that the judgment that we do have is probably one that we want to keep, and then process the emotion that's underneath it once we actually fully accept that it's there. Because what may seem like an inconsistency, this is something that I get from my clients a lot, is like, well, it feels inconsistent. It feels like because I'm not perfect, I'm in this like moral dilemma of I'm not able to judge him because I'm an imperfect human. It seems like an inconsistency, but ladies, I want you to hear me when I tell you this. You are allowed to be imperfect and still judge that his behavior is incorrect. Okay? Your imperfections do not excuse someone else's sin or harm against you. Okay? You need to stop using your own flaws to excuse the behavior of other people. Okay? That is not what we need to do. Okay? We are capable of having compassion for the other person and still judging that it's wrong or something you don't agree with. And that's what I want to offer to you lastly, is it doesn't have to be either or. It's possible to hold space for both. Our brain thinks that judgment only comes from a lack of compassion, that if we judge the behavior to be wrong, or if we have feelings of judgment, then that must mean that we don't like that person at all. We have no compassion, we have no understanding. And that's not true. We can have compassion and judgment. In the same way that when you do something wrong, or you do something that isn't in alignment with who you want to become, you can have compassion for yourself for the mistake that you made, for the choice that you made, and also judge that it wasn't your best. Does this make sense? So hold space for both, and that's what's going to enable you to actually move forward. Take a look at the judgment that you have. Is it a judgment you want to keep? Because if it's a judgment of your moral code, you are going to want to keep it. You're not going to want to let go of your moral code. You're going to want to keep that. Stop judging yourself for judging. Of course you're judging. That's exactly what your brain is designed to do. Make sure you fraction it. Part of me judges him for X, Y, or Z. Be very specific. And then you can decide, is this judgment something that I want to keep? Is it part of my moral code? Or is it just a negative thought that I'm having that feels really good, more like resentment? Because that's different. With the resentment and the bitterness and the anger, when we're painting him as a negative person, as the villain, that's part of a story that we can then rewrite. But we might want to keep our moral code judgment, and that's what I want to offer today. All right? I love you ladies so much. I'll see you guys next week on a brand new episode, so take care. All right, my lady, if you love what you're hearing on the podcast and you're ready to take it and apply it in your life to see a true transformation, then I want to invite you to come join my coaching program. Now is the best time because I have just added an annual membership, so you can join for the lowest price ever. Get all the details on my website, jolenewind.com, and don't forget to sign up for a free consultation call with me today. We'll get on the call, we'll talk about where you are, what you're struggling with, and then we'll see what is the right fit for you and your budget. Again, go to my website, jolenewind.com, sign up for a call, and I'll see you there.